talking about two young guns, Tennessee at Pittsburgh. Let me ask you this. Is George Pickens' behavior worse than Antonio Brown?
All right, look, like that's a hilarious question. Number one, I have to address. It's like a hilarious question. I'll say this. Look, no, not yet, because he literally had some like egregious nonsense we won't even go back into. And if you don't know about all of it, you might not like. But there was some crazy chapters in like the AB era.
It was
and
bad.
it still is even ongoing to an extent. I feel like he's toned it down a lot though. But what I'm gonna say is this George Pickens shit. You know how wrong it rubbed me when I was texting you guys about it initially. Like here's my thing that's really frustrating about a situation like this. Especially, I'm sure. Look, Steelers fans can agree completely. Look, you're above 500 by 2 games right now.
Yeah.
You're a team that's, in my opinion, exceeding expectations. A young team that has to keep gelling together, and you're gonna go take the situation and make it about yourself, as if the man literally completely had a brain cramp, and the reason he didn't have a touchdown himself.
Yeah.
Like, he would have been on the board, and it's like, so there's so many things.
Let me ask you
I'm
this.
being nice to him right now. I'm gonna be clear. You know me. I'm being nice. This is as nice as I could lay it out.
Let me ask you this, okay? Because a lot of players say that they can tell when someone can play. George Pickens can play. Like, George Pickens can play ball. He should have been in bounds in that touchdown, but what if they just know Kenny Pickett is not the guy? I mean, like, he's in his second year? It's just like, if they know he's not the guy, George Pickens probably feels like, okay, bro, like, I'm trying to get paid too. So it's like, if you suck, I'm not getting paid. I don't want to be here.
See, that's the thing, though. And that probably is how he's looking at it. I'm going to be clear. Like, yeah, that's probably the case. And also, because here's the thing. That's why you can't even go from the angle of, like, oh, well, he's just trying to win. If they lost the game, anybody could pull that stunt. But it's like, then you can't really pull that stunt. It's really not about the winning. It's about wanting to have to contribute highly to the win. But to that point, why else would that be? It's for money. Here's my thing. Look, you choose the kind of teammate you're going to be, right? Like, if you want to come out here and make it your brand so that you're making more money than everyone else, and that's your only goal out here,
Yeah.
I don't know. It just seems like the championship goal comes second then, and that's the whole kind of thing when you want to be that type of person. Oh, I'm just an alarm merchant.
No, you're good.
Every episode, I'm just an alarm merchant. But look, and back to the thing. You get what I'm saying. It's like, I get him. I get the sentiment that you want to contribute and you want to be a big contributor. Even if it's not just for the money, it's just for, I want to contribute. But as long as you're getting the win and you did the blocking you had to do, all the things that don't show up, hey, you still contributed to the win. And if you don't think your teammates can look at it that way and you're not looking at it that way, then it's a whole mess even in of itself. There's so many things I could say. I'm going to let you go from here. But
every person that has listened to this podcast, this episode, has more yards than George Pickens did that game against Tennessee. He had -1 yards. Now, here is something that I want to talk about, okay? Because if you're the Steelers, really, what do you do going forward with Kenny Pickett? Do you I mean, obviously you ride it out with him this year, but like, I think it's kind of like a pretty quick consensus that Kenny Pickett is just not.
Here's what's so weird about him, though. This is why it does not make any sense. And it's crazy because this was the narrative going into week 1 this year. It still is. It's like, how is this still the thing, right? And I even said, if this is still a problem, it's going to be a problem because it's cool when you're a rookie. But look, here's the issue now. He only comes alive in the fourth quarter. Why is that? Like, why is he like the most clutch QB in the league, but he doesn't turn it on until the fourth quarter?
Right.
Makes no sense. And we can keep blaming how terrible the Steelers' offense is and all these things about the run game and the play calling. I'm not sitting here excusing any of that either. But like you're saying, the reality of the situation is, and I think plenty of Steelers fans would actually disagree with us. That's what's weird. Is if I'm understanding correctly, a lot of Steelers fans, I think that they're still like really on the train. My thing is, look, can Kenny Pickett get you to the playoffs? And can he like obviously win you some games? There's no doubt about it. But you know what it's always going to go back to. And everyone already knows what I'm going to say next. Because the promised land thing. Like, does he give you a high likelihood of getting it done unless you have, like we say, the perfect roster? But then when you put the perfect roster, then his value drives up and then you got to pay him and then you can't repay. Like, if you don't have the actual guy that's worth the money that you're going to end up paying him no matter what, I use Daniel Jones as my example, then everything's going to crumble when you pay them what they're valued at. And then you get what I'm saying here. So yes, it's like, where do they go from here? They're either going to stick with it, end up having to pay him eventually, or not pay him. But at that point, then this roster is just getting older. They have a great defense, but time's ticking, and they're in a relatively interesting situation for sure.
The thing with the Steelers to me is I just don't trust them to ever beat like a truly elite team that could put up like 30 points. Like, if you're putting up 30 points, you're beating the Steelers. Their defense is really good, but it's just something that I feel like you're just going to be hampered by the quarterback play. Because, like, 160 yards and a touchdown, it got it done. But, like...
Well, they're going to... This is what I say, too. Let's just be realistic. Kenny Pickett, in all likelihood, in any given situation, no matter when the Steelers would go on a potential bowl run, he'd have to win 4 games in a row for them. There's just no other way around it because they're not going to be the 1 seed.
No.
Right, at least in the next foreseeable future. So it's like, I mean, is it going to happen? You know me. Likely not. Like, is there a slim percentage chance that crazy things could happen and you could have a miracle run with them? For sure. But it's like the likelihood of that happening versus if you get him a better replacement. But again, that's where the issue comes in. Is this better replacement thing is never easy. Because then you got to sacrifice assets or you got to sacrifice time. And no matter what, you might have sacrificed time on the wrong guy. You might have sacrificed assets on the wrong guy. It's just, it's rough. But if you're a Steelers fan, at least, you still have a competitive team no matter what, even in the situation with Kenny Pickett. So you can't really hang your head on it. It's just something to ponder for sure. Because again, I think a lot of Steelers fans are not with us on this, which is what makes it interesting. If I'm understanding the consensus for what I've been seeing correctly, I think they're still pretty in on him.
On the other side of the ball, Will Levis is having, I would say, a pretty good start to his career. 500 yards and 4 touchdowns in 2 starts. What do you think Titans fans should be looking forward to with Will Levis potentially being a steal at the beginning of the second round?
Well, I'll say there's no doubt. I think you'd agree with me that he looks for sure. Like, I would even... It's weird to even say steal because he should have actually been. I mean, early second round normally you're like it's pretty good for. But I get what it is. He is a steal for because of the fact that he fell and all that. But regardless, this is the thing. He's showing the flashes, in my opinion, with arm talent. That's the main thing. With arm talent that Kenny Pickett's definitely not showing you. Even in this game, there's specifically some times where, Will is really driving that ball to his receivers. Like, really driving it in tight windows. And the receivers can't make a play on it even sometimes. Where it's like, okay, they're still not, they're not used to this new gunslinger they got back there. It's going to be throwing fastballs at him all the time.
Right.
But it's a very real skill that it's not easy to have. That's not something that every QB has. Whether you have accurate ball placement and all these other traits that, Kenny has good traits like that and all, Kenny has a good deep ball. There's things about him you got to love. But the velocity that Will's putting on that ball and those strikes that he's throwing, to me, that's the big difference right now. You can already see is it's like Will can really drive that thing into a tight window. With a guy like Kenny, that's another thing. In my opinion, it's a big disadvantage you get with a guy like him is he just doesn't drive it necessarily just fast enough where it's like you just miss a fraction of the windows that you get with a guy like Will. And it's nice to have from a game plan perspective if you're the offensive coordinator.
I think that's definitely something that Titans fans should look forward to because, I mean, if you really look at it, where have they had that star quarterback? Like, they had those years for Tannehill, but, I mean, they may truly have something special here in Will Levis because when you saw, like you're talking about the strength on the deep balls, some of those balls, like the ball placement, like the finesse he has when he throws the ball, it just looks different. Like, you can see it on screen, like, kind of. I mean, like, I'm not trying to compare the two, but that's kind of what you see with Stroud and why Stroud is so good. The ball placement is incredible. It's only where his receiver can get it. So
I'd actually even say it like this. I'll even one up it too. Here's what I thought you were going to say. The way he's driving the ball right now, a lot reminds me of like when Josh Allen did his best. And you're like, Josh is right. He put it there. You know what I mean? And it's like,
yeah.
Because what I love too that Will does a lot, and Titans fans I'm sure have already noticed this. It's like he definitely doesn't really let you in on his key right away. Like, he's always trying to lead you away from where he's going to throw the ball a lot of times. Like, he's always like looking people off, or he's like giving a subtle pump and then he's going back. And that's the type of shit you got to love because you really don't – you can teach it, but certain things like that are just instinctual and habits, it's harder to teach where it's like he already has those habits instilled, which is awesome.
Yeah. So did you want to talk any bit about Jaylen Warren or the Titans defense?
Yeah, I was going to say, number one, it's clear at this point. And it's funny because last year I'd argue with my buddy that would say this, and I would say no, like Najee just needs, he's got to get more comfortable, he's got to get more healthy, just get him in the offense more. I'm going to say it, no. Jaylen Warren and Najee just split the carries. If not, give Jaylen even more, not more carries than him, but give Jaylen more carries than he's getting now. Like, Jaylen Warren's a talented back. He's got some finesse and power to him. It's a weird combo. You even look at it, it's a weird combo. Like, it's awesome. Give that man the ball more. He makes an impact on the offense when he does. Give that man the ball more. And I just thought it was interesting, though, with this game. No matter what, like I said, Kenny Pickett still is very clutch, too. Like, it's just like last thing. I already talked about it, but it's just weird because with the Steelers and everything, you still got a clutch quarterback. So the Steelers are still. That's what's weird is I still think the Steelers they're still a playoff team. The AFC North as a whole, like all playoff teams or something. I mean, it's ridiculous. Weird situation over there in Pittsburgh, but
Yeah, Pittsburgh, I'm interested to see if they make the playoffs and how far they can go.